Do it.
We are live.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the show. This is Jonathan of Evigilans. I am accompanied by WARSPIRIT and IT. Yesterday, we had the largest turnout for freedom that I have ever seen in my life in person. This was an awesome event, an awesome protest, and nothing bad happened. Look at that. We're peaceful people. So anyways, I'm excited. This is going to be our biggest show yet. People are waking up in this area and they are getting active. This is what we wanted to see. This is what we want to continue to see. Do not let that momentum die out. Let us all be remembered as the makers of our dreams. So anyways, it's been a pleasure. Let's go ahead and begin with prayer. Thank you, Lord, so much for bringing us all here together safely, Lord. Thank you for protecting us in our daily lives. Thank you for organizing the people of this town, Lord. Lord, I pray that you protect the patriots, and I pray that people who don't agree with everything we're doing also find safety. Lord, I pray that your will be done on earth as it is in heaven, and that freedom reign tonight, Lord. Thank you very much for bringing us all together and giving us the content and the wisdom to be able to do this. Continue to bless us, Lord, as we move forward in your great holy name. Amen.
You came down to this southern town last summer to show the folks a brand new way of life. But all you've shown the folks around here is trouble, and you've only added misery to their strife. Your concern is not to help the people, and I'll say again, though it's been often said, your concern is just to bring discomfort, my friend, and your policy is just a little red. Now ain't I right?
Ain't you right? Ain't you right?
It matters not to you how people suffer, and should they, you consider that a gain. You bring a lot of trouble to a town and then you leave. That's part of your communistic game. I detect a little communism. I can see it in the things you do. Communism, socialism, call it what you like. There's very little difference in the two. Now ain't I right?
Ain't you right? Ain't you right?
Your followers sometimes have been a bearded, bathless bunch. There's even been a minister or two, a priest, a nun, a rabbi, and an educated man have listened and been taken in by you. All the country's full of two-faced politicians who encourage you with words that go like this. Burn your draft card if you like, it's good to disagree. That's a get acquainted communistic kiss. Now ain't I right?
Ain't you right? Ain't you right?
One politician said it would be nice to send some blood and help the enemy in Vietnam. That's what he says, here's what I say, let's just keep the blood. Instead, let's send that politician man. Let's rid the country of the politicians who coddle tramps that march out in our street, protesting those who want to fight for freedom, my friend. This kind of leader makes our country weak. Now ain't I right?
Ain't you right? Ain't you right?
Let's look and find the strong and able leaders. It's time we found just how our neighbors stand. If we're to win this war with communism, let's fight it here as well as Vietnam. Let's rise as one and meet our obligations, so communistic boots will never trod across the fields of freedom that were given to us with the blessing of our great almighty God. Across the fields of freedom that were given to us with the blessing of our great almighty God.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show tonight. I am very excited. As of yesterday, it was like a flash mob. me and War Spirit informed me in the middle of the afternoon that there was going to be a rally in front of the mall. And we were like, oh, that's nonsense. You know, we didn't believe it. We were like, oh, this is just some goofballs are going to show up and it's going to be like 5 people. Nobody's going to be there because, you know, nobody ever told us about this. And there was no news on it. Well, we found out there's a reason for that. Turns out it was a flash situation for a reason. The reason that it was worked out this way, and War Spirit, if you could refresh my memory, it was the San Juan Republican Party.
Well, the Republican Party, and then also the San Juan County Patriots.
Okay, the San Juan County Patriots and the New Mexico Republican Party. They sent out like just a couple posts, like they were like, boom, 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 boom. Everyone's gonna meet up here on this date here in 6 hours. And everyone it spread like wildfire because it had to. And it was short notice. And there was just so much people there. When I got there, I was impressed because I was expecting it to be like a little bit of a drip feed. No, by the time it was 5:30, that place was getting packed. And 6 o'clock, 6:30 o'clock come around, it was. You think there was 1,000 people there, War Spirit?
Yeah, I would say there was about 1,000.
Yeah, I would say there was easily somewhere over 500.
That's a lot of people.
Easy.
It was a ton of people. I could not exasperate or explain this enough. This was a ton of people. I saw family mates. I saw friends. War Spirit saw friends, saw family, saw people, and it wasn't just that. We saw people we'd never seen before, which is awesome for something that, arguably is felt kind of like a hopeless cause sometimes. But here, my hope is renewed with new vigor because I saw over 500 people rally almost instantly in short notice in complete unison to bring freedom back to their town. That was powerful to me.
Yeah, so right now I have the picture pulled up with the big Trump 2020 sign and the Erich Cole, I believe his name is.
Right. You're right. So that belongs to the New Mexico Republican Party, at least the local branch of it here. I actually saw it. It parks out throughout the town, but they brought it down for the protest, and they had music playing through there. They did a little bit of speech on there. Nothing. They didn't really have a speech. I thought that was kind of interesting. Nobody really went up there to have a speech. A lot of people think that Sheriff Ferrari gave a speech. He never did. There was never a speech from Sheriff Ferrari or nothing like that.
And I was actually explained that there's a reason that he didn't.
Yeah, there is a reason. So I don't know where to begin with this. There's just so much information that we have dedicated this entire episode to just be about the protest.
Mm-hmm.
That's how big this is for our area, for our page, everything. So
about 5 images to show you folks. So
yeah, he's got images. We're going to be scrolling through. It was a massive assembly of people.
Just to give you an idea, let me pull up some of this is the sidewalk toward the Garcia and Company jewelers, and you could just see the amount of people. I mean, I'm honestly surprised seeing the pictures myself.
Right. And these photos aren't even that great. Like, I gotta say, like the one with towards the jewelers there, as you can see, I was impressed to see how many signs and flags were at the ready. Because I was totally unprepared, It's like, oh yeah, there's a protest at 6. Most people get off of work at 5, and I'm seeing these signs made. I'm seeing flags flying, and it was amazing. There was music playing, and the crowd just got thicker and thicker and thicker. And another note, this is interesting. So I go there, and everyone's kind of staying separate. The staff, actually, I don't know who to blame, but somebody basically spread throughout the crowd that we need to stand on the sidewalk side that's close to the road. As you can tell, there's that like squiggly sidewalk that goes through that walkway there. We had to stand on it or past it. As you can tell, like it was a massive crowd. It's gonna puke out a little bit.
Right.
I mean, even I didn't honestly follow that. Like we tried our best, but there was just so many people scrunched up on this line, and it went down. Like it went all the way down to the bank. This line of people.
Wow.
It started at like Taco Bell and went all the way down to the bank.
I quite liked John's comment when he was told that, like, because there's a guy, and he's actually one of the guys that actually helped put this all together. I don't know his name. He's a big biker dude with a big beard, and he's the one that told us, hey, you guys need to stand on this side because that side right there belongs to Applebee's.
Yeah,
and everything. I was like, that's cool, you know. And so John pipes up. He's like, so I guess we're not social distancing then. And everybody started laughing. It was pretty funny.
Yeah. And I did hear that echoed and reverberated through the crowd, and I love that. And it was like, oh, I guess we're not social distance. You know, just people were just getting a kick out of it. And even then, I was like, oh, you know, poor Applebee's with their booming consumer market right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was great. You're getting looks from people. I didn't notice any hostility, right? I didn't notice any. Not from anyone in or outside. It seemed like endless support. I actually have a video up on the page. You can find it at facebook.com/ITTDM. We will be making a compilation in due time. We're working on finding the parts necessary to be able to pull footage off of a camera right now. So we're working on that. But I got a lot of shots from my phone. That's most of the shots you'll see here. But this was history. This was something that will go down in history. It was a massive show that we want to be heard. As an area, San Juan County wants to be heard. We're tired of being swept under the rug and ignored. And I'll tell you what I think it is. Like, why we're being ignored, why we're being locked down longer. It's not because we have a higher COVID rate, right? That's what I'm told anyways. There's really nothing to prove that, but I'm told we have a higher percentage of COVID than other areas in New Mexico. Somehow this very, very separated rural area has managed to beat Santa Fe? Are you serious? No, I'll tell you what this is. We disagreed with the governor. It's not our first time, and it won't be our last. We disagreed with the governor back in the day, and we said, you're not going to take our guns from us, Michelle. We're going to keep those. We don't care what you pass. The police officers here are going to help us out. We're keeping our guns. And she hates this area. I don't know what has gotten into people's heads here, especially people who think that this movement is about whites and whites only. It's not about that. It's about every American, be you native, be you black, white, Jewish, whatever you believe in. You have the right to work in this country. That is a constitutional right under the pursuit of happiness. And to go on with it, Michelle Losing Grissom just doesn't like us. She hates this area. She hates the people in this area. She does not care. In fact, she even has disposition for the Navajo. She is a racist twat. Excuse my language.
You know, John, you mentioned something interesting, and there actually are some powers that be looking into as far as civil rights and stuff. And you know, our forefathers, they set down the Bill of Rights, and that's separate. A lot of people don't know this from the Constitution, and that's the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And I venture to say that what she is doing right now violates those rights.
Absolutely.
Because, okay, so let's look at life. Well, if you're cooped up in your house all the time, which a lot of people are, and you're staring at four walls and you're going freaking crazy, you don't have a life. If you don't have a life, then you sure as heck don't have liberty, because you're not allowed to go down the street freely without wearing some bag over your face.
Right.
So you don't have liberty. And 3, I can't go, most of us can't, unless you're essential workers, which is crazy, provide for your family and get the home of your dreams and everything. And I even know of people that are like, they want to get married, but they're holding off right now because of all this like quarantine stuff and craziness. So you can't pursue happiness.
Right. Which is something I completely agree with to the fullest of extent. So the thing is with this, I mean, and even under the standard, like that's something that someone wrote on Facebook. They said, "Who the F has the right to tell you that you aren't essential?" You know,
Right.
in the age of where everybody is equal, right? In the age of social justice, where everybody is flaunching at the bit to do away with every bit of injustice, where everybody's problems are justified and everybody's valid, and all this age of stop bullying and stop belittling people. And then the media comes out and says, hey, you know what? Most of this country, you're not essential. You're not important. We don't care about you. We don't care if you starve. We don't care. It's, you know, that it's ridiculous to me that's okay. You know what I mean? In this age where everyone is bickering about every little thing that could be taken as insulting, but the media and the majority of people outside of this massive crowd in this town, apparently, is like, oh, no, that's fine. Some people aren't essential. Go ahead, let them starve. They don't deserve to work. They're not essential. And that, to me, is offensive. Like, isn't that the whole point of, like, I don't know, like, the whole Declaration, Abraham Lincoln, you know the thing that freed the slaves? What do they call that? I'm sorry, I'm having a total brain fart because I was rambling. It was called the
Emancipation Proclamation?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was it.
Yeah, Emancipation Proclamation.
It was on the tip of my tongue, the Emancipation Proclamation. That right there, it's like all men are equal in this country. No matter what religion you are, no matter what race you are, no matter what, get this, what pay grade you get in what you do. If you are servicing people, you are working in this country, you are living the American dream that the forefathers and the people who wrote this beautiful country into existence intended. That is what we're fighting for. That's what this protest is about. It's not about the white people want their haircut. It's not about that. So shut the hell up. It's about people wanting to return to work. And whether they need to or not, that's not your business.
Exactly.
Look, you know, like look at this, right? We are a country of free people. Now imagine, and you know, I believe this would be the case at this point. The governor could literally tell the reservation, you know what, you guys need to stay under lockdown because of your skin color. And they would be like, you know what, Michelle, absolutely, that's fine. But if, you know, that's what's ridiculous to me right now from what I've seen on my pages and everything. And that's not the reservation exclusively, but that's a lot of the mentality in this area. It's like, yeah, this rich white woman in Santa Fe sipping on her martinis and living the yacht life, yeah, she should call the shots for blue-collar Johnny and his wife and children, because I don't feel like giving a hell today. You know, it just doesn't make any sense to me. And then they go on and they push this agenda where it's like, oh, these people weren't social distancing. They weren't wearing their masks in this protest. They weren't practicing quarantine protocol. That's the point, dipnut. You know, like that's the whole point. We are fighting to get our freedoms back. And you know what? We needed to do something like this even before COVID showed up, because I can tell you right now, I've been watching our rights as Americans across the state, not just Michelle Luce and Grissom, but across all 50 states. Our rights are being stripped away from us one by one by both parties.
Mm-hmm. It's not pointing fingers. Both parties are equally as...
Both parties. I mean, I'm sitting here, Trump, I don't know, like, I could care less about bump stocks, but the fact you banned them, there should have been a protest. There should have been protests across this country, because that was infringing on a right.
Well, and this shows how important this is, this issue, because conservatives, for the most part, we just don't protest that much. We're
busy working until COVID broke out.
Well, yeah, we're working but we're also pretty laid back, and we just don't gripe and complain and cry like the left does. And so when it comes to the point to where we're protesting, it's getting real. I remember back when the last huge protest before this was when the Tea Party was gaining momentum during the Obama years. And I mean, that area right there in front of the Farmington Museum, that whole area was full of people.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it was a great grassroots deal. But the problem with that was two things. One, they didn't organize the meetings very well after that. And two, and this goes with also the first one again, there was no leadership. And that is what I'm afraid of, seeing no speech and everything made in this one. And it was good that everybody went there. But unfortunately, even people who for the most part, that are willing to come here, they need leadership.
I agree. Though it was good.
No, it was great.
Right.
And I thank everybody that come out, because you guys are amazing out there. If you're listening, please comment, like, and subscribe right now to our page so you can hear more information on this.
I've posted the link to our Facebook, facebook.com/ITTDM. Once again, that's facebook.com/ITTDM. I've posted the link in the chat, and if you guys have any questions, feel free to shoot them our way.
Right. We are trying, and what we've established is we are trying to make not just like a reporter deal, not just a news deal, but like a community, a movement of its own. And what we want to establish is a more conservative-based media. Maybe not so much in the sense that we follow everything that conservatives say. We just want something that's truthful, that's grassrooted, and, from the bottom. That's what we are. We're from the bottom. We're starting from the bottom. We've had our first big hit today. I have a video on the Facebook website of ours that has got nearly 3,000 views. That's a big deal for us.
This is our biggest break yet, and I really do appreciate everybody's patronage.
Yeah, this is awesome, guys. So invite your friends, invite your family. We are always open to messages on Facebook. We're always happy to read your live chat. If you want a shout out, let us know. We'll say your name on here. We don't mind. If you want us to talk about an idea, throw it up on the live chat. We are happy to have you. In this whole protest, it gave me hope, because I honestly felt like the whole conservative thing, the whole dream, that it was just belonged to a bunch of old people who were sitting and waiting to die. I'll be honest. I thought they were in their chairs, like in their sit-back chairs, like, let's just go ahead and die. You know what I mean?
Right. That's always kind of the idea that I've had when I was, in the wee little baby days of politics, is that the Conservative Party was just a bunch of old men in suits drinking tea, withering away to dust. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And that's like,
right.
Until this happened, like, that's what it looked like. And that's a problem.
That was totally the opposite for most of the part what we saw, right, John?
Absolutely.
We saw 20-somethings out there. We saw teenagers. We saw this younger generation stepping up and being politically active.
And not just sitting there because their parents told them, energetic, dancing, having a time of their life.
Right.
These people were happy to be here.
There was two young ladies in particular. They were going up and down the sidewalk, yelling and screaming, and really working up the crowd. And I mean, they were just doing an awesome job. And you could tell that they had it in their hearts that this was important to them.
Right. And maybe they're a small business, ran family, which everyone, this is something that drives me up a wall. Everyone, again, saying that these people are not essential. That is insulting. They are a human being. They are Americans, just like you or me. How awful is that? No, you do not.
How degrading is it to the psyche? I mean,
yeah, like, oh yeah, you don't deserve work, and so sit down and shut up until the government tells you don't have to anymore.
Right.
And John, the whole what we saw, this some people trying to turn this into a race issue, Native against whites and all this other crazy stuff. Maybe, and this is just off the wall, maybe that's what Miss Grisham is wanting.
Mhm.
Maybe that's the reason why she's doing it.
Rolling into race things, I don't exactly know how to pronounce this person's username. GHHTSDBMKDSWTU. Yeah. He posted 2 chats. Man, you would think Native Americans would not trust the government. Let's talk about what the government has done to Native Americans and how no one should trust the government.
Yeah, let me blow a lot of minds real quick by reminding which party Andrew Jackson was on.
Yeah.
There was this little massacre that happened too, and until that crazy guy in Vegas killed all those people, did you know who actually killed the most people in the United States before that, guys?
Who was it?
It was our U.S. government, a U.S. cavalry, at a little place called Wounded Knee.
Wow.
That's right.
Yes, let's talk about Wounded Knee for a minute.
There's a lot of stuff we could talk about.
Yeah,
I mean, the list is endless. So sitting here, it's like, oh, now suddenly, right? I'm taking that we should trust the government, which, by the way, is led by the evil Nazi Cheeto Man Trump. So we should totally take their advice because, well, it's all convoluted. They're confused.
Well, it's a
brainwashing technique that has been effective.
Well, that's the thing. It's
they're
like
so confused that they're pissed. That's their only reaction to anything logical is anger.
Yeah. Well, think about the ass backwards nature of everything, right? You have a nation that's led by, the most racist man ever to walk the earth, Donald J. Trump. Supposedly, the demon of all demons, And these are the same people that don't want anybody to have any firearms, any sort of protection. So they want the worst man possibly to walk the earth, who's pulling the strings on law enforcement, the very people who could take away your guns or your right to life, at any given moment. They want him to have the power, I think it's just...
Right, that's exactly their foul mentality. You're right, because it's like we are led to believe by the other team that Trump is, literally Hitler. And then they go on and say something ridiculous like, well, give him your guns.
Right. We need gun reform.
You're right. We need gun reform because Trump is Hitler, which it doesn't make any sense. None of their platforms make any sense. They right now, for example, they claim to care about humans. They claim that's their whole thing. It's like, well, these people don't care about humans because they're not wearing their masks and everything. Well, I'll tell you again, everyone. This is another statistic meme. 99.98% of people are going to live through this.
Yeah.
And if you aren't sure, if you're really scared of the virus, this is the biggest thing. Why it has made people so angry that people want to go back to work, right? Doesn't make any sense. It's all a media ploy.
Well, I think another big thing why people don't want to return to work is unemployment checks. Currently, now, more people are making more money off of unemployment than they would working.
Yep.
Right. But, we have to remember to be grown-up adults about this.
Exactly.
It's
not going to last forever. You've got, 15 months. Come on.
If even.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we're looking at another month of unemployment. This place is dead.
Yeah. And then there will be no jobs to go back to.
Exactly. Well, it's hitting us hard, And I don't know how we could have fixed it. You know what I mean? Because the mentality behind the actual stay-at-home order is relatively, it makes sense. Let's try and flatten the curve because that the concept behind the curve is we don't want to overload our hospitals to where we have to choose who dies and who gets to live. You know what I mean? We don't want to get to that crossroads. Right. That makes sense. Yes. Okay. I agree with you. That makes perfect sense. But right now, it seems like there's kind of favorites being picked right now. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think that there was a better way that we could have handled this. And I'm not going to say anything until this blows over. How we should have handled it. You know what I mean? But
right. And how I'm looking at it, sickness or no sickness, we have the flu, which and I had someone today that one of the best arguments I ever had was statistics don't matter. That was literally their argument. They were like, statistics don't matter. Shut up. People are dying. And I was like, but statistics say that very, very, very little amount of people are dying. And,
right.
You know, and that's the thing too. This whole ventilator stuff, like that's the thing I've heard today a lot too. Is like, oh well, all you people are going to be on. Somebody's called them incubators, which cracked me the hell up. But they're going to be intubated, is what they meant to say. I could reckon.
They're going to incubate you like an egg.
Right. Well, I ran into a lot of people who were just so livid and they couldn't even spell.
Wow.
Even on our page.
I mean, you think about it, Jonathan. You need to ignore statistics. Why would you need to read?
Well, you know, guys, my thing is, and I wanted to tell an individual this, but I refrained. But my thing is, you know, they're saying, well, if you cared about people, you know, you'd stay home and all this. And, you know, I saw John go on there and, you know, talk to somebody and say, hey, well, you know, if you're that afraid, stay home. And I agree with that. And also, you know, if these people, like, quote unquote, hate these people so much that are protesting, and they truly think they're all going to die because they, you know, are going to get COVID, then stay home and let all these people die out.
Right.
And
That's exactly what I was saying. The anger makes no sense. Turning this into a race issue makes zero sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
Turning this into any issue other than what it is, like at point blank value, it's a bunch of people want to go back to.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. That's it. People. There is no mention of race. Why would race matter? There's no sense in it. Why?
There's no sense. It's all just the media has got people so confused that all they can feel to anything sensible is anger and hatred. I'll tell you right now. You know what I saw during the protest on everybody's face? They were smiling. Yeah. They were having a good time. There was no frowns. There was no anger. It was just everyone was having a real party, dude.
Right.
We were enjoying it. There was no anger. There was none of that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the person with the username I can't pronounce, GHH. We'll refer to them as that. He mentioned, wouldn't it be funny if no one gets sick after the protest? I think that would be. Right. I think that would be the tip of the iceberg there. That would have been hilarious if nobody got sick.
It's full well what I plan on actually following to the best of my ability, guys, is everybody that was like here, like, and I'd like to put that out, maybe on our media, is like, hey, if you were here at this party in a few weeks or whatever, if you're not sick, give us a holler.
Right. You know what? I'm actually part of the page. I invited you to it. It's one of the pages that organized this whole thing. I suggest we go in there, we post. If you get sick 2 weeks from now, not because we're trying to interrogate or make fun of you, we want to know.
Yeah.
We just want to know. We want to know for our show.
Because
we want the honest truth. We don't want to hide anything from anybody. That's not our job here. We're reporters. And the reason we're reporting on this is because we're honest. And cheers to the guy who keeps sending us, like, I'm happy to have you on the show, whatever your name is. But you're a great name. Awesome to have you. You know, it's an awesome suggestion. The government has done unspeakable things, not just to Native Americans, but all kinds of minorities, and including white people. The government is a machine that runs on blood, period.
Well, that's so, I mean, looking back in biblical sense, that's how everything. I mean, there was a wage for everything. You know, I mean, exactly. At a biblical standard, and more often than not, that was equated with blood. Shannon Carter mentioned, put it on our page. All Americans are essential.
All Americans are essential. That's the page I was talking about. I'm glad you mentioned it. I wasn't sure if you wanted that page represented on here, but it looks like you went and plugged it yourself. So that's what we'll say. All Americans are essential.
Yes,
and
exactly. Wonderful page.
If you want to post it on there, by all means, please do, and I'll just follow that. But if I don't see that post on there, I'll post it. Cheers to you, Shannon. Thank you for everything you've done to improve this community. It has been a pleasure. These last few days have been such a huge boost to my morale and the crew's morale. And everything.
I mean, the newsreel had been very, very slow leading up to this. I mean, this is the biggest thing to get as close to home, you know, that's ever happened to us since we started this endeavor.
Like I cannot stress how short notice this was. It was super short.
Well, I know. I'd barely heard about it on Tuesday. I'd barely heard about Monday or Tuesday-ish, and the protest was actually Thursday, correct?
I didn't hear about it till Thursday on the afternoon.
On the day?
Afternoon.
I might have heard about it a little bit, but I don't know. It could be, you know, I mean, I was working a lot, so.
Well, I don't know. There's just been protest. There's just been a leading up to this, and the sad thing about protests is that they are warnings.
Exactly.
That's the sobering truth. Open your eyes, you know, because it's a warning. We are peaceful people. This town full of peaceful people. The Conservative Party, peaceful.
Look at what just happened. There was a peaceful protest that just occurred Thursday.
If
this is not the epitome of what the Conservative Party is capable of and is willing to do, this is it.
Right.
We are willing
to
go for it.
And look in contrast to this, guys, with how the Conservatives conducted a peaceful protest versus how the left conducts their protests with bike lock chains and
it's really
other nastiness. They leave trash everywhere. I drove by this street today with my job going down through here, and there was no trash anywhere. Everything was great. Everybody, whatever they had with them, their signs, whatever, they took it back with them when they went to the car.
You want to switch up the photos a bit?
Yeah. We have a couple comments to catch up on. Patriot76 mentioned, I know somebody who works in the medical field. They had 10 COVID patients come into the hospital just last night. Shannon Carter mentioned, she said, thank you guys. It was awesome. Let's keep it going. GHH mentioned, I'm curious to know the death toll for the death toll for San Juan before the virus. Is there a big difference between before and now? Shannon Carter also mentioned we set the page up Sunday night, set the protest up that night, and boom. So I wasn't crazy in my.
Okay, so you did hear about it.
Yeah, I did hear about it.
We just that explains why there's signs and stuff. Because I was looking around, I was like, "How the hell did you people do this?"
I just heard about this Thursday.
I heard about this like 3 hours ago, and there is all this stuff ready to go. I'm like,
just ripping stuff right out of the old keister, you know.
You know, it was a treat. In any case, which I saw wonderful signs, heartwarming signs that bred hope. Like, there was this adorable little girl who was holding a sign that said, I should be able to go to church. That melted my heart. What a cutie, that one. And my goodness, that sign, like, that was like, man, that was powerful. Good on you guys. That was an awesome sign. I saw another one, and we actually interviewed that lady. Hopefully our camera and that equipment is working, but we ran into an older woman who was carrying a sign that said, my body, my choice. You know, and
that's a perfect way to run that argument.
It is. It's perfect because it's the perfect, you know, because the other side is completely based on confusion. That we've established that they are confused and they're contradicting themselves every moment they speak.
This is exactly it. This is where the contradiction lies, right? I'm not saying, I mean, this is obviously a generalization, but I mean, more often than not, people who tend to lead towards that side of, you know, political ideology would say, you know, my body, my choice. You know, it's, you know, I mean, everybody knows what that's going to lead to, the topic wise. But I mean, look at this. I mean, you are being told that you do not have a choice over your body. You are going to stay home. I mean, there are places where
from the people who want to push the whole, you know, pro-choice movement,
and then they have the audacity to claim that you do not care about other people if you don't do exactly what they say.
Exactly.
And my argument to that is, no, you don't care about people because I am not the one allowing babies to be murdered inside the womb.
Exactly. I don't want to hear. And I actually told the guy that because he was like, that is the most heartless thing I've ever heard. You don't care about my poor grandma who lives in Farmington and how you protesters are potentially putting her at risk. I responded. I said, are they protesting at your house, at your grandma's house or whatever, right? I said, are they protesting in your grandmom's house? And he's like, well, no. I was like, then how are they putting you at risk? And he's just like, he went on this whole, you're heartless, this sort of that. And
listen,
I said,
the only person that's going to put your grandmother at risk is you. You're here. You are jeopardizing your grandmother as we speak.
I was about to say, if they go to your grandma's house and they start like kissing her and stuff, then you got a problem.
Right.
That's the whole thing. It's an individualistic system that is easily solved by the rights of the individual, the core foundations of conservatism.
Look, with that, if you choose to wear a mask right now, I'm not going to judge you. I don't care. I just choose right now that I don't, especially in an open area like this, where there's fresh air all around us. I do not feel the need.
Right.
Right.
I mean, there's no threat of recirculating air. I mean, you know.
Like I saw, it was hilarious. I saw a couple walking up the hill today, close to my house. I went to my house here to grab something real quick while I was in town and stuff, and so I hopped back in my truck, and I took back up the hill. And there was this couple on a walk in 80-degree weather, nobody else around them for miles in this spot right here, because it was like a barren spot with masks on walking. I'm like, really? Come on, guys.
That's I mean,
another good comment.
Get you right there, yo.
Another golden comment from Gibberish Woo2. He says they don't, and they apparently, right, they care about starving homeless children. They don't, right? And I think that's what he meant to say.
Right.
Or whatever he is implying. They really don't, because they want to see this economy crash. That was the most ridiculous thing I heard today. Ridiculous. Was like, oh, well, people care more about money than protecting people from the virus. That's why we're fighting to keep things open. I was like, no. You forget what money does.
Right.
Right? Have you forgotten the whole concept of currency?
I can't buy food. You know what I mean? Like that's what it boils down to.
President Trump even said that the fallout from everything that's happening is going to be worse than the virus.
Yep.
Right. Exactly. It's going to cause mayhem.
Economists are just pulling their hair out.
Like if we don't get this stuff opened up soon, especially here, there's going to be problems. There's going to be problems that this
Chick-fil-A can't keep Farmington open forever. Okay.
Right.
I swear, I see 12 people at that restaurant working, at once. I'm like, oh my Lord.
Well, that's the thing. They'll just have 12 different people every day doing it.
Well, with that,
employ the entire town.
So, little Farmington, has actually gained enough public media to actually be interviewed by the New York Times. Did you guys know that?
I did see a couple of video interviews on the television throughout this week.
So they interviewed some stuff on Farmington. They interviewed Nate Duckett. Full disclosure, I'm not a big fan of Nate Duckett after what he did with the whole abortion deal. We here in Farmington tried to make a right to life sanctuary city here, just like we did to the Second Amendment sanctuary city, and he downed that because he's like, I'm not gonna vote my morals.
Right.
So, Mr. Duck, if you're listening to this, I would love to. I'll give you a fair shake. Love to have you on here. Love to tell me your side of it. Tell me your side of it, Nate. Right. Maybe I'm not understanding it correctly, but all I know, Nate, is you was coming to our church before that, and when you made the vote, you knew we was going to be angry with you, so you didn't want to answer any questions, so you quit coming.
Right. And
what kind of argument? It's kind of bass backwards in my opinion. I don't vote on my morals. Is that what he said?
That's exactly what he said. Because basically it was like, I can't, basically not gonna I'm not gonna mix my morals with my politics. And it's like, that should be that. How can you not?
They run hand in hand. That the very mention of you not vote, your politics not involving your morals, is the antithesis of each of those, entities.
But with that said, because I wanted there to be a basis here of me understanding how I kind of have some disgruntled thoughts between the man. He was right at this, that Farmington was in a death spiral before all this happened. And then when we pile on a horrible dying economy, because the oil and gas industry has been having a hard time anyways.
I'm pretty sure everybody knows that at this point.
COVID-19, it's made it so much worse. And he went to the governor and said, please, let us open back up. And she straight out told him no.
Gosh.
Right.
And that just rolls back to the concept. Imagine being told you're not essential.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
That's
Like,
that.
Your town, you people. That's
Yeah.
basically literally. She had to put it figure. You people aren't essential.
Mhm.
I don't care about you. And yeah, they're gonna say some nonsense. Like I've already seen that. Like in the Daily Times reporter, we ran into them. I don't want to give up. Like you can find it on the Daily Times. You can find that stuff. I don't want to put her in the spotlight. She's a very friendly person, from what I can tell.
Her name's on the article. She wrote
Exactly.
Daily Times, John.
Was it Heather? I don't remember. Sorry, but Hannah. All right, and she was very friendly. She was very professional, and just like her and all the other headlines I've seen. And they are just making a buck. Remember that. The Daily Times is going bankrupt and bust, so don't get too pissed off. They'll be,
If you listen to this, nice to meet you. You were awesome. Thank you for giving me the information on the camera systems and stuff. Thank you very much.
Right. Yeah, she was very awesome. So don't get all tipsy and pissy with the headlines. But that is a fact, according to the data, which is really just kind of a shot in the dark of people guessing what the data is. This area has a higher COVID count than other counties, right?
See, I also question the legitimacy of that.
Well, yeah. It doesn't. I don't understand. Like, yeah. Just you guys go on. There's not much else I'm going to add.
We're told that the reservation specifically is suffering.
Right.
We're told that that this is why. That I think a lot of people are pushing the race issue is because they've been brainwashed to believe that the reservation is in dire shape right now.
Right. Well, if that was the argument, go for it. Sorry, I interrupted you.
Let's use to borrow, and sorry, Mr. Limbaugh, if you ever hear this, because I'm telling you're the one that taught me this. Rush Limbaugh taught me something that's very interesting with this. Liberals always use this same ploy. Minorities, women, and children hardest hit. That is always the headline.
Yeah.
Always. Yeah, no kidding.
Well, I mean, think about it for a second. If what I'm led to believe, I mean, we're blaming this all on the Navajo reservation. Why hasn't it got better? They're on one of the more strictest lockdowns in the state of New Mexico right now.
Right. Which is why I'm sitting here. I'm like, I'm
scratching my head. Yeah.
Somebody is manipulating an entire, country within a country. That's what's going on here. It's all a control scheme. We aren't blaming anybody. We never blamed anybody to begin with.
Yeah, this is
that's something. Like I saw a meme that was shared, and it had us protesters on it and everything, and it said, "Don't blame the Navajos." We never started to.
No.
We never blamed.
We should start a new headline: "Free the Navajos." At this point, I mean,
exactly, because that's what I'm saying. The Navajos deserve the right to work just like I do.
Yeah,
I have a job. I've been working this whole time, but I still believe that everyone else has the right to do that, even if they're between a freaking grandma who sews baby clothes for the winter in the middle of the summer. You know what I mean? I don't care. Like, dude, I don't care what.
That was oddly specific.
Well, it's such a niche. Like...
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's why I went there. It was completely out of pocket. I guarantee. But that's why I went there, is because it's like, I don't care what you do. You have that right. It's the pursuit of happiness. And you might not be successful in it. I mean, and that's another thing. If people don't like a business being open, right, then don't shop there. You freaking... I'm not even going to go there. But by all means.
Let the free market system decide the winners and losers, rather than the government.
Right. That just doesn't make any sense. Shannon Carter mentioned something in the chat. She said, so I think this is tying back to the reservation lockdowns. She said, so let's just shut them in for 56 hours at a time. That should really help. Ridiculous.
No kidding.
Yeah.
It's honestly just a flustercluck beyond my wildest dreams. I read a few months ago that, this virus that's, emitting from Wuhan is gonna, right now it's not bad. And then it started to get worse, and then it started to get worse, and then I started to hear these theories that, it was, the Chinese creating it, or that the Americans infected the Chinese. I mean, you just started hearing all of this, and before you knew it, wildfire. America, you know, I mean, it was Italy, then it was Germany, then it was the entirety of Europe, then it hit America, and America, it spread like wildfire, and so did the media. This has blown up beyond this has gotten...
It is the largest media fear scam that I have ever seen.
Exactly. I don't think I've ever seen people more scared in my entire life.
And, you know, and people are proud to be scared. Like it's some kind of pride thing, because that's
hashtag flatten the curve.
Yeah. It's like, you know, that's what I was saying. It's like there are a whole awful lot of people around me that just seem so proud of how afraid they are.
Well, no, let's
wearing your mask. You're not terrified either,
right? Well, I mean, let's look into the statistics, for instance. I'm going to bring up a little fun fact. Ignore statistics, like that wonderful person of wisdom mentioned.
Right.
Give a guess as to how many people you think die from mosquitoes each year around the world.
From malaria?
Mosquitoes. Mosquito-borne illnesses. How many people die from...
Yeah, mosquito-borne illnesses in that... probably a couple million at least.
Million. But on average, each year, 1 million people die from illness from mosquitoes alone.
I know. Well, malaria is a big problem, and let me tell you another thing about the government screwing over people. Have you guys ever heard of? And I'm trying to think of a. Have you ever heard of DDT?
No,
I don't think I don't think I'm familiar with the.
you know, DEET?
It's basically just.
If you know what it is, go ahead.
Yeah, I know kind of what DEET is, like the concept behind it.
No, not DEET. DDT.
Oh, DDT.
Okay.
So DDT was a insect chemical. It's not a repellent, but it killed insects, and it did so well at its job that after the Great Depression, that's about when it was invented, the mosquito problem, like in India, Africa, all these different places, became almost non-existent. And the cool thing about it is it also didn't hurt cattle. So you could walk your cattle down through a trough that was diluted in water and DDT, and it would kill like worms that was inside them, all kinds of stuff. And this liberal tree-hugging wacko chick, she decided to do some studying, and she got it in her head that it was making eagle eggs thin.
How did you find that out?
It was,
that is some like schizo posting, dude.
It is some schizo stuff, and she was saying that by like 20, by the year 2000, all of the eagles were gonna be dead.
I mean, well, that sounds kind of. I mean, well,
see, okay, without hardly any proof, and actually later on they actually did prove that there was no validity to this at all. But it didn't matter because she got the ear of Daddy Government, and they shut DDT down. My great-grandmother has stories of when she was growing up in the Depression. She remembers that the eaves of the houses that she lived in was just be full of flies, like so thick that she said her dad would light a torch and he would go along the eave and it'd burn all the wings of the flies off, and the chickens would come and eat them.
Wow.
But after DDT, she said you never saw that.
That's insane. Well, let's look at another prime example of this. You know, somebody with pretty much no evidence to boot. MSG, monosodium glutamate, right? It's a flavor additives that, you know, Chinese food is typically incorporated. It's incorporated into Chinese cuisine, you know, American Chinese cuisine.
Right, yeah.
One report, mind you, in the 1970s was released, and it was actually found to be kind of, you know, biased towards, and it was leaning towards anti-Chinese sentiment, right? Said that monosodium glutamate caused cancer, ulcer. I mean, it was health problems, and literally the only thing that it did was help reinforce a meal and bring it together. Something called umami flavor.
The whole thing with like sodium is like a weird topic. But anyways, guys, you know, to get back kind of towards the protest here, because we're talking about MSG.
Well, no, I was just bringing it up because what happened? One report was released and it was banned. The government took it. It was banned. You could not serve it. You couldn't serve it in a dish.
Right. You're looking at the media literally created this.
Exactly. It created the panic.
You know the the most interesting thing about MSG though, guys?
What's that?
It makes bats taste wonderful.
Well, you know,
Ooh,
that's
lad.
pretty clever.
Ooh, lad, that was pretty good. I'll give you that one.
I always love a good bat joke these days. Even though I don't personally believe the virus came from a bat, but
No, I don't either.
How my question is, how did they prove it? How did they prove that it came from a... I mean, like, the coronavirus can be spread from mammals to mammals, right? We know that.
Well,
how did we pin it down to bats? That's my question. How did you... Oh, did you find a bat and you're like, oh, yep, that has COVID-19 on it? Like,
well, here. I mean, it's the same thing. It's like, do you remember back in the Ukraine that... we lost WARSPIRIT. Either way, I'll keep it going. Back in the Ukraine, there was this... plant. It was a chemical plant, and it exploded. Looked like a nuke. It was massive, and mind you, that this plant, like this explosion in the Ukraine at the chemical plant, was absolutely massive. In fact, it's theorized that it actually was a tactical nuke from Russia on the Ukraine. And I kid you not, this was a Russian news site, said it was because a Ukrainian was smoking a cigarette. How in the hell did you find the freaking camera?
I'm not a pro in nuclear fission, but when, nukes kind of explode, I don't think there's a lot of hardcore evidence left behind where the nuke actually exploded.
Unless it was uploaded to a server or something, man.
No instantly, like literally a cloud. Like it literally had to been as soon as the video was recorded up to the second. You know what I mean? That's appalling. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. It's like, people are like saying America has the highest count in the world, right, of COVID.
What about per capita?
Me up. Like per capita. Well, in any case, it's not true, because I can tell you right now, China's cases, if this coronavirus is as contagious as we're led to believe, if that's true, then I can guarantee you that China, just on a basis of population and lies, has way more people infected.
Well,
because that's the whole stigmatism. They're trying to make America look pathetic.
Well, exactly, because the big number
you
bad.
You stop telling your lies, round eye.
Right. Exactly. And the fact, like, I tell these things as fact, not because I have any favor towards any race. I don't care, dude. I've been I was never prejudiced, man. Never in my life. Nobody is born prejudiced. It is a becoming thing. I do believe that. But the thing is, man, like, everybody goes straight to race. Nobody thinks about logic. Nobody thinks about why.
Well, that in and of itself is racism. I mean, think about it for a second. I mean, immediately pushing it into a racial issue. I mean, inherently, you are indeed, as far as your logical train of thought is concerned, you are sectioning them off due to their skin color.
Well, and because of that, guys, this kind of gives us a scary look into the future. Look, this is a virus, again, that most people will survive, like 98, 99% will survive this virus. Just think if something truly awful ever hit this nation, and like minorities, like on the reservation and all this stuff, truly, like, were left to their own devices, because unfortunately places like the reservation, that's the government's fault, not the Native American. The government has put them in a place to where they do not know how to take care of themselves.
Right. And that's everybody.
They rely on daddy government to take care of them in every little aspect. And that's not just Native Americans, that's anybody on welfare. And these people are going to go in freaking sane. The race wars and everything that's going to happen is going to be terrifying when this place finally does. And it's not if, it's when, falls apart.
Wow, that's a terrible thing to say, because that's something that breaks my heart with this. I've lost friends. I've lost Native friends. I've lost white friends over this. I've lost people. That it was only about 3 people, but the point is, it's like we were friends. Maybe not great friends, and of course we don't agree on everything. But I go take part in a protest,
and that's it.
And that's it. You know, like, oh, no. You believe that people have the right to work in the midst of this pandemic, you filthy monster.
Nay
thee! And to me, it's heartbreaking. It's like the media has taken these friends away from it. You know, it wasn't politics. It was panic. It was fear.
I actually really like that. It wasn't politics. It was panic.
Right. It wasn't politics involved. It wasn't any of that. People are made to be afraid. And honestly, a lot of it I don't think is fear. Because I don't want to throw that out there. I genuinely don't believe most people who are like pro shutdown are actual cowards. I think a lot of them have an agenda in mind, and that agenda is looking at how long can we stretch this unemployment.
Right.
How long can we stretch? Because I do think a lot of it is a lazy idea.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's one of the bigger arguments that I've heard too. Is that, you know, why would I go back to work? I get paid more to get unemployment.
Exactly. Well, because it's going to absolutely crush us. You will have starvation. You're going to look at this COVID thing and be like, cough in my face. I want a cheeseburger. You know,
let's just get it over with so I can go to Macca's.
Yeah, Macca's. And that's the whole thing. Like, you're looking at people, because that's when the whole ideology, what we're fighting for, which is liberty over freedom. You want to know why liberty? Because, I'm sorry, I stuttered on that. Liberty over security, freedom over security. I didn't mean to stutter on that, but
liberty over freedom. It's kind of the same thing.
Yeah, but liberty over security. The reason that the Conservative Party and people like us push for liberty over security for this reason is because liberty allows us to protect ourselves. Allows us to rely on ourselves, our family, our churches, our work, whatever we do. But most of all, it allows us to rely on ourselves. If you get too much security, you get in trouble for protecting yourself. You get all kinds of flack. And at the end, you cannot trust the security that is given to you by the government. The only trustable security that you have at the end of the day, when Tiatawaki, Boogaloo, whatever you want to call it, the end of the world, the end of this country, you know, people are fighting each other for freaking food, is going to matter, is your ability to protect yourself and your family.
Right. And that's one of the bigger things that we've stressed on this podcast is today the day.
Yeah.
And with that, John, you know, you're talking about like full security, you know, I know a place where you can like, there's full security. You're taken down to your animal instincts as far as like just basic necessities and everything. It's called prison.
Yeah.
And in prison, there's still ways that people figure out how to kill each other.
Exactly. I mean, you see toothbrushes sharpened to a point where, you know, I mean, where they used to either to obviously cause a problem or protect themselves. It is
because it is necessary.
Exactly.
Guess what? You're in the security, right? You're in the best security that the government can provide in this prison, and you still get stabbed with a toothbrush.
Right. Well, look at how prison inmates eat.
Defend yourself.
Look at how prison inmates eat. Right. I mean, I don't know if you've ever looked into it, but I mean, it's really fascinating how they eat. They have usually their left or their non-dominant arm. Well, no. It's the body language, right? They have their non-dominant arm stretched over their meal, hovered over it, and then they're eating with their dominant hand with their entire body hunched over the meal because they're scared of somebody taking their food.
Right.
The psychology of prison in and of itself should dictate what your responsibility is as an individual in the free world should be. It should be to your utmost concern to have the ability to take security into your own hands, per se. You know, that's tying. Well,
that's the whole non-aggression principle. It's literally, we want to be able to protect ourselves effectively.
Exactly.
The government, we do not mind you guys protecting us. That's the whole purpose of government, is a military and a police structure. You know what I mean? That to me, like, I mean, to put it in Ron Swanson, that character off that show, the government should just be a guy in a room surrounded by women ready to press the nuke button. But that's the thing. It's like, it's so nannyized. It's so nanny-stated. Like,
exactly.
I mean,
Well, seatbelts.
Why do I have to wear my seatbelt as a full-grown man?
Seatbelts are a good argument. Like, and yes, there's counter arguments that are equally as reputable. I would like to be able. WARSPIRIT, you mentioned this to me in my wonderful naivety. My big argument for seatbelts is, well, I am allowed to go to war where I can take another person's life potentially. If I'm in that position, I could take somebody's life. You know what I mean? All three of us here can apply and go into war and potentially have the ability to take somebody's life. But as soon as we're not wearing a seatbelt when the motor vehicle has started and it gets on the good old highway, we are then infringing a law. And it's one of those things. It's like it's mindless to me, because who else is it affecting? Like, if I'm getting into a car crash, right? Let's not go there. WARSPIRIT had mentioned the biggest argument that I could think that somebody could run would be you are able to get control of your car, assuming that there is an accident. You know what I mean? Like, that there is an accident. Exactly. You will not be ejected from the vehicle, and the vehicle won't be going haywire. You know what I mean? And out of control. But usually, I mean, when let's not go there. That's just the argument, for the entire thing.
If you're in an accident where you lose control of the seatbelt, that's
but with that IT, I also say, well, if I have to wear my seatbelt all the time, then you have to ban motorcycles.
Fair, actually.
Well, don't give them any ideas. Don't
give them any. Shush. I just end the stream.
Hold on, John. Hold on. I'm going somewhere with this.
Yeah, I know. We're joking.
So if in fact you have to ban motorcycles, my question to all of my native brethren out there that have been angry with us for this protest and all this, how many, and I know some personally because there's a lot that love Harleys. How many of my native brethren ride a motorcycle?
Right.
Ooh.
I mean, you're putting yourself at risk. You shouldn't be doing that. Don't you care about your family? Don't you care about your wife and your kids?
Don't you care about maintaining the actually, like, making sure that the bike is directed okay? I mean, assuming you get in an accident. I mean, they should put seatbelts on those things.
What if you fall off that bike and it careens and it hits a child off on the side of the road that was playing with Lincoln Logs?
Right. We need to put seatbelts on these things.
And then it rolls over to Grandma, who's making winter baby clothes in the summer.
Right. Exactly. And guess what? There was a charge right next to it.
Together.
Right. All of them died from COVID.
That is literally, all of them died from COVID. That is the state of the media in the fraction. But that is why the protest yesterday was amazing. It was inspiring. It was tear-jerking. They played the American anthem. We put our hands on our heart. And that's the thing, too. Like, I wanted to point out the difference between a conservative protest versus an Antifa protest. You see these camera shots of, like, journalists taking pictures back in, like, Charlottesville and that sort of thing. These people were frowning. They were angry. They were drooling.
They were wearing masks. Yeah.
They were wearing masks. They were looking for trouble. They were all trying to look tough, even though most of them couldn't lift a freaking soda can.
Soylent Green.
Yeah, without one hand. But that's the thing. There's frowning. They're sad. They're angry. And all that. This was energetic. These people were happy to be here because it was a collection of like-minded people who want this happiness that we feel.
Want this change.
Yeah, the happiness that we feel to be provided to everybody.
Right.
I mean, like, we are not holding this to our race. We're not holding this to our party, our ideology. This is for everybody. That's what the movement's about. It's not about me. It's not about this guy over here. It's not about this group of people over here. It's for everybody in this country. And I mean, but here's the thing too. I wanted to point out to people in case they get dismayed, right? Because something a lot of people have been complaining about was that we weren't wearing masks. Let me explain to you really quickly. If everyone at this riot, riot wasn't a riot, it was a protest.
No, it wasn't a riot.
It was a demonstration. It was hardly even a protest. It was a demonstration. At this demonstration, if everyone had wore a mask, you know what the other side would be saying? They would be saying, "Oh, what you so scared of if you want to reopen again?" See what I mean? It's a losing fight either way. They're going to find something to complain about. They are against you no matter what you do. So don't get dismayed. These people hate us. They hate the idea of freedom, and they hate the idea of people working and actually making better with their life. Because honestly, the left is a group of pathetic, confused cowards. I'm going to say it. I'm sorry. I have really no pity for the left. They demand the death of the unborn. They go out of their way to support Stalinistic ideals. They hit people over the head with bike locks. You know what happened at this protest of conservatives? Nothing bad. People honked their horns and made a couple noise. A song was played. People were
sure, there was a couple bad apples, but other than that, I mean, from what I've seen and what I've heard, it's all been just peaches and cream for the most part.
The worst thing that I saw, and this is like maybe a kind of a safety violation, is, you know, the people that were driving by honking their horns and like giving us thumbs up, which was awesome. There was one lady, and she was particularly brave. She actually sat on the outside of this like big rig truck and like sat outside the window and like give everybody a thumbs up if they was driving by. And I'm like, but again, her body, her choice.
Right.
And it was not a bad body, mind you. It was actually fairly all right. And I'm single. I'm allowed to say that. I'm just saying. Ladies, if you saw me at the party and you like this fat, round, potato-ass looking blonde kid, hey, guess what? He's single.
Turns out this was all just a plug to get Jonathan a girlfriend. This entire podcast led up to the owl pod, like the entire concept of the podcast was just to get done.
One day I'll be able to say it.
One day she'll hit me up. Is today the day? Is today the day she says yes?
Right. No, is today the day media presents the Simpcast?
Right.
Right.
The Simpcast.
No, but there was a lot of eye candy there. There's beautiful women. I gotta say, man, the conservatives, they got the pretty ladies, man. They have got the pretty ladies. Because, when I see a leftist woman, the very, very over, not of a healthy body weight, blue-haired, Garuga mesh running around. It's a little scary, But here, we saw beautiful people of all ages, of all cultures and all that stuff. It was awesome. People, there was color in their faces, man. It was awesome. People were having a time in their life. It just felt so alive. It was the most fun I've had in easy 5 years, 6 years, 10 years.
Even before this COVID mess. I mean, it's blowing my mind that it took something of this magnitude for people to stand up. And that's another thing that kind of breaks my heart. Yes, wonderful thing to get behind. I'm all for you going out there. This is a beautiful movement. I love it. It breaks my heart that this was the tipping point. You know what I mean? It's always one of those things. Coulda, woulda, shoulda. It was just a coulda, woulda, shoulda moment. And
it's hard to say because that goes to show. And I've talked to somebody about this. I was like, well, here's proof that conservatives are a peaceful people. The original, the whole original war thing, the whole, what's it called? The revolution was fought over 3% tax on tea. That was it. And that was enough. They were like, okay, we're done. And they started throwing, they started killing people, to say the least. We have taken. Why? Because we're peaceful. We understand what war is. And we know that is nothing we want our kids, our families, or anybody we care about to have to live through, much less see. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And we're looking at that. We do not want. This is something that is. Hello, kitty cat. More spirit.
Oh, sorry about that.
But anyway, this is something that they keep trying to tell us, right? They keep calling us warmongers. They keep calling us a bunch of unpeaceful psychopaths because we like firearms. Here's the thing. We have not started a revolution. And we don't want to. We might have to, and I'm not putting it off if it gets to that point. But we do not want that. We are doing everything, not just this podcast, but across every tired-eyed right-winger I have seen. We want to avoid war. We do not want death and destruction in our streets, in our homes. We don't want that. We are not warmongers. But we demonstrate and we stand for what we believe in to the best of our abilities. These protests are a warning.
Well, that's what I was just going to say. That's what I was just going to say, John. In a way, see, I count us not at violent war, but we are at war. Absolutely. We are at war with an ideology. We are at war with false precepts that has been conservatives have been lied about for years. We are, and they're doing the same tired thing again. We're the party that doesn't care about people. We're the party that, again, just like you, IT, that many think that are a bunch of old farts that are just sitting around waiting to die.
Right.
We're the party of of whites.
Right.
All this other bullcorn, and it's complete lies.
It's all lies.
We are again, okay, going back to you mentioned Lincoln. Republicans are the party that freed the slaves.
Right. Republicans are the ones that opposed the forcing of Native Americans into these reservations, that opposed Andrew Jackson. And at the end of it, they have cut these people so confused. And not just the natives, everybody on the left, be it white, black, native, whatever. And I'm not grouping people into anywhere, because there are people of every race on every side of every spectrum. The world is a very diverse place of ideology, right? And that is just a given. But anyone who is on the left, on the political spectrum, no matter what race they are confused, sad, and scared because they are uncertain. They are not secure in their morals like we are, WARSPIRIT. They are not sure that they are right. But they want to be, in a way, if that makes sense. Because imagine that you come to the realization that one day, oh wow, abortion is wrong, and I've been supporting this awful, awful, awful idea my whole life. What am I going to have to do to make up for it? So perhaps it's a bit easier to say, well, no, it's not wrong. I was never wrong. I you know what I mean? It's bartering with their spirit. They're trying to make their obvious evil seem okay, because they feel like they can't. I'm not asking to go back and change the time. I'm just saying these people are scared to apologize, a lot of them. That's the thing. They're scared to change their minds because they don't want to be made fun of. They don't. Well,
and that's exactly it. Yeah. And I'm going to kind of go a little bit more spiritual route with us here, gentlemen. Amen. That's the same way that, unfortunately, atheists believe. See, because it is in my true beliefs that there is no real such thing as an atheist. Because if you'll notice, have you ever noticed how like bitter and angry an atheist is towards God? And I always ask them this. I'm like, well, if God is this flying spaghetti monster, because they always like to make that joke. Right. If God truly is this flying spaghetti monster, why would you be mad at him? For example, I'm not mad at the Joker. The Joker is a villain in a comic book.
Right.
You're right. He can't hurt me. I don't care about the Joker.
Right. You don't talk about the Joker on this show. I hate that man.
See, exactly though. But yeah, because see, we're seeing, guys, what we're doing is we're showing the absurd with absurdity,
Exactly.
And that's another phrase borrowed from Rush Limbaugh.
Right.
For those of you that are listening, I'm a huge Rush Limbaugh fan. I'm a Rush baby, so if you hear that, that's the reason why I quote Rush Limbaugh all the time.
Right. He is the oldest of the bunch, to say the least.
Yeah, I'm the grandfather of ITTD.
Right. Pretty much.
Right.
But it's true. They are so bitter, and I always ask them this, and it always makes them so angry when I ask them that. But they get angry because they know it's a fact, that they truly know there is a creator. But with that, the reason they don't want to admit it is they don't want to answer to that creator.
And honestly, like, that's something I learned at a young age, and maybe it was because I was raised in a Christian household, is like, honestly, there's a point where saying, sorry, I was wrong, is just so much easier for your conscience.
Right.
You know, if you live with all that guilt long enough, it will tear you down.
Yeah.
And that's the problem I see with the left, is that it is so abundantly, like, you think you get sick of living in confusion. Life and, like, morality and everything else like that is simple. It is so unbelievably simple. Like, people have gone out of their way to complicate things to where we just throw our hands up and say, you know what? It's not worth it. Sure, do what you want. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because that's what they want you to do. They want you to just throw up your hands and say, you know what? It's too complicated.
I give up. Yeah, I give up. That's it.
You know, but it's really it's a 1+1 scenario almost all the time. It's like, you know, and it doesn't even have to be biblical. You could literally make a moral argument without God, I found. Because why? Because guess what? Atheists follow godly laws.
Well, that's another thing. This comedian, I love him a lot. His name is Norm Macdonald. I don't know if any of you have heard of him. He's a wonderful comedian. His comedy is it's different. I'll have to show you guys to him. Right. He mentioned something interesting the other day, and I didn't really expect to hear it. He's a very well-spoken man outside of his comedy. And he mentioned this one thing. He said, I find it odd that for some apparent reason, humans generally think, tend to believe that there is a higher power, that there is something up there. Even atheism, for, kind of in a weird way, is acknowledging that it is not there. You know what I mean? Like, it still acknowledges its existence to some degree. It in and of itself is a paradox.
Well, atheism is the newest religion.
Fair enough. If you're being honest, that's exactly what it is. What are your religious views? I'm an atheist.
Right. Everyone up until atheism was invented said they believed in a god. Like, everybody. Mm-hmm. Which, who the hell put that there?
Right. Why was that a thing? You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing that was mentioned. He also mentioned, why aren't we looking into that? Why aren't we looking more into God per se? Because it seems that more often than not, people have this innate ability of believing that it exists. So why aren't we studying that? We're studying, the different animal species, the different plant
and
species.
That's something too, like, people who are listening, if you are someone who doesn't believe in God, that's fine, as long as you believe in what is correct and right.
Right.
A lot of people make the argument that you can't do right without believing in God. I'm kind of back and forth on that. It's like, because the way I see it is that you are very capable of doing right whether or not you believe in God, because that's a very justified argument, is that you don't need God to do what's right. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, and if you do, if God is the only reason you are doing right, then, well, you're not a very good Christian. It's out of the joy of your heart. And I mean, doctrine and all that. Besides, this protest, to get back on it, whether or not everybody there believes in God, I hope that they do find that joy in their heart, in their spirit, in their being. That is the greatest joy that you can find, is to be loved by the one who loves you the most, and to understand that.
Right, and again, they know who this creator is. The old phrase that's been said for years and years and years and years: there are no atheists in foxholes. When you have the fear of death, when death is knocking at your door, most people start praying to God.
Yep.
Right.
I mean,
whether they have talked to him ever in their lives, they start praying to God.
Exactly. That, the atheist is always an atheist until he's getting close to death. I mean, that's just how it is.
Even there's been prominent figures that have had that happen. Mm-hmm. Darwin, at his deathbed, admitted everything that he wrote was a lie, and I don't know if you guys know this, and actually accepted Christ in his heart.
That's awesome, man. I'll be up there. Hey, yo, what up, Darwin? Monkeys, am I right? Anyways, on that short note, when it comes to the concept of Darwinism, a lot of Christians give him a harsh rap. And, for good reason. You could blame his doctrine for, pretty much most of America's issues at hand. But also at that same time, it's kind of hard to blame him solely because, as you said, anybody who studies evolution immediately can kind of point at it and be like, "Yo, this is not possible." Like, I don't care if you believe in the Christ God like I do. I mean, I do care, but I mean, you have to believe in like a simulation or something because there is no way that a bunch of gases existed without anything existing beforehand.
Right. Well, I mean, that applies to the very laws of thermodynamics. Energy can neither be created nor destroyed. How did this come to be? You know what I mean? And that's the biggest argument for creation. What takes more faith? Right. Would it take more faith for me to put faith into a God that created everything that I see and everything that I know and everything that I love? Right? Would it take more faith for me to believe that, or would it take more faith for me to believe happen chance that all of the energy that we see around us, scientifically proven energy all around us, came from nothing?
Right. Well, something Stephen Hawking is like, if he was alive, the question I would ask him, I'd be like, well, it sure is a miracle you got so smart on accident somehow.
Right. Something that came from nothing, you know what I mean? Right. It's like, how did you get here?
It's like your point of existing at this point in time, by your theories and everything that you push, is absolutely ridiculous. And, there's even a thing, like, I heard he did, like, a math problem that he was like, wow, maybe there is a God. Even he said it, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, he did a math equation of the possibility of, the standard Big Bang, how that all happened, how it came to be. But, that's all great, and I kind of feel like we've scrambled way off the topic here, guys.
Wouldn't it be more like, wow, maybe there is a God?
I think that might have been mentioned when he was walking. It's typical ITTD fashion to get off track this far. Folks, if you're new to the podcast, this is a light political commentary. A common occurrence. We stream Fridays at 9 p.m. Mountain Standard Time.
Yeah, this is about the Farmington protests. Also, Big Bang didn't happen.
Stephen Hawking said there was a God.
And it's like, what in... Literally, to joke about, coronavirus, what in the hell price of rice in China does that have? But yeah, the protest was amazing. Mm-hmm. We covered a lot of that base. I mean, it was a protest, it was a demonstration. It was awesome. There was kids there, amazing people we interviewed. Mm-hmm. There was a wonderful woman there who teaches concealed carry to young women.
Oh,
she is young and old, because everyone deserves the right to carry a gun. We're not misogynists. We just believe you should defend yourself.
What was her company name? Wasn't it the Armed Woman?
Shoot, I don't think so. Well,
I love the concept.
I want to plug her company.
Yeah, I love the concept though, because the very idea of feminism is to bring equality, and I think the biggest equalizer between male and female, especially if a conflict arises, which threatens your life, is the use of a firearm.
Well, that's the whole point.
Exactly.
It's through USCCA, the Well-Armed Woman.
Is that the Well-Armed Woman? Check them out, folks, if you're looking into getting your CCW.
Yep. If you're a female and need to learn how to use a firearm, she is well trustworthy.
She was an awesome lady. She also, because we was having a conversation, and we were talking IT, the same thing that you said. That's the great equalizer, because she admitted, it's like, look, I am a black belt in
martial arts.
Martial arts. I forgot which martial arts she said, but like a big man or whatever, could probably still take me.
Yeah.
Because I'm a woman. But with this, with this handgun, it
ain't gonna be taking much. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's what we need. That guys.
With the power of Grayskull.
That's another thing. Here's another stereotypical thing that the left tries to lie about, is that the right, especially men, are misogynistic. What is misogynistic about wanting your woman to know how to carry a gun and shoot a gun,
right,
and protect herself to where some other man can't control her?
And what is, like, I'll tell you what's racist is telling the poor oppressed peoples of California, especially in the minority communities, in the places where they have to fight for themselves, in places where they can't afford to do nothing, you know, to change it for now, that they should give their guns to the people that are oppressing them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I'm serious. You know, what is with this whole idea that the Republicans are the racist ones when we're saying, you know what? We don't care what race you are. We don't care where you're from. We don't care what.
Yeah.
You're free to own a gun.
I'll bet you those roof Koreans back in the 90s were Republican.
Oh, I bet you they were. I bet you they were. And I bet you they were good shots too.
I bet you they were.
You know, and that's the thing. It's like we have always been a movement about everyone, where the left, you'll notice this, especially in the modern left, like the young left, is there's so many subcategories. They can't even figure out what gender they are, dude. And that's... if you're not the newest gender, well, you're not as good of a victim anymore, so you don't get the attention bucks that the left is going around. So it's all like an attention based. Oh, well, you are black? Well, guess what? I'm gay. Oh, you're gay? Well, guess what? I'm a transgender. Oh, you're a transgender? Guess what? I'm a black, gay, moth, Native American. You know, and it's just like, you know,
it just keeps going and going, spiraling.
Yeah, and the same goes. It's like, oh, well, you're a Democrat. Well, I'm a democratic socialist. Well, you're a democratic socialist. I'm a communist. You know,
it's funny you should mention, John, the whole transgender thing and the kind of the slippery slope that this has started down, because I remember back even during George W. Bush period, and conservatives talking about, look, you know, if we start allowing gay marriage to be okay, you know, it's just going to get worse and worse. And the left made fun of us and said, oh, that's so stupid. That's going to da-da-da-da-da. What do we got? Now we got transgenders. But now, not only transgenders, we got the same left that's saying this, saying that we should allow pedophilia.
Right.
Because that now is their big thing, saying, well, that's just how they are. They can't help it.
Right. Well, see, this is the interesting deal. And I believe there should be a protest about this because, you know, I'm seeing articles coming in at least once a week of another transgender stripper who's not even older than 12. You know, and I'm like,
they're grooming them.
Exactly.
They're grooming them.
You know, I'm like, this is not acceptable under any circumstance. People should be angry. Mm-hmm. People should be fuming, as we would say. Mega effing fuming. And that's the thing. Like, you have this left, right? Which, just like, they believe that they are right. Yet their side, if they don't kill the child in the womb, they want the child to grow up to be a stripper by the age of 11. That is the leftist movement. It is evil. It is wicked, and it is wrong.
Well, and, you know, people, the left always tries to, like, talk about all these, like, women's rights and all this, but then they encourage, well, if you want to be a sex worker, that's okay.
Right.
Wait, no, what?
Right. Right. It's like, I want women to stop being sexualized. Anyways, do you want to see my bumhole for about £5? I was like, oh, that's a bit odd, isn't it? You know, it's doesn't make any sense. But that, again, they contradict themselves. We have named so many contradictions alone in just, you know, the span of 3 hours. Every time we bring them up, they immediately and you know,
that's why an educated person on the right, as long as they keep their cool and don't get angry, will always be leftist in an intellectual argument.
Always,
because it, you know how the whole deal, like if you're telling lies and you start getting worse and worse. In fact, there, and back in the day, y'all might remember this. There was a VeggieTale about this called The Fib, but that's just a little for y'all out there that ever like VeggieTales. But if you start telling lies, the lie gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And then you have to remember all the lies that you told. And sooner or later, you're not going to be able to remember all of them because you've told so many. So it's so much easier to tell the truth, and that's what conservatives do. We're telling the truth. So it's so much easier to keep our rock-steady principles the same because we're not lying.
Right. You'll notice that the platform of the left is constantly changing based on the time, based on everything. It's always rapidly advancing and changing, morphing, whereas the Conservative Party that has been in place has pretty much been the same since, 1865, I'd say, if not since the beginning of this country. And that's, that's why this protest happened. It's for the rights of everybody. This protest was a beautiful display by a bunch of freedom-loving patriots who want what's best for this country. I saw joy there, I saw happiness, and I saw hope. I saw a bunch of friendly faces who would hug you, who would shake your hand and have a conversation with you. They are not spiteful people. They are not angry people. They are not violent people. And it is frustrating to see people rise up and say, look at these monsters and look at these monstrosities. These people are the sweetest people I have met in this town in years. And, that's the thing. It's like, you look at the pictures, look at the differences. The people who protest on the left, it always has the cops getting involved because they're always angry. They're always so full of hate. And that was the thing. The hours it was going on, there was already hate going around. Somebody posted a status saying, "Go back to Europe," all this other stuff. Cracker this, cracker that. Whitey, all this other crazy stuff, which had nothing to do with the topic at hand. It had no logical arguments, just pure hatred and spite towards an idea, towards a movement. And that's what bothers me is that from the left, these people, they see these children that are taking part in the protest. They literally hate these children. These people who are innocent of any crime, who aren't hurting anybody. These people, and that's what I'm saying. I'm a little worried because, call the shots. I'm expecting some psychopath to try and drive up and run somebody over on the side of the road. Right. I expect, because these people are so full of hatred. That's what the media has done to them. That's what the government has intended. That's what Michelle Lujan Grissom wants. And their hatred is going to fuel murder. And you'll see my point come true, that these people are so filled with hate that, and they call us hateful, right? They really do. And we have not posted a single hateful thing. We never, I go back to it, we never blamed the natives for COVID. We blamed China. We didn't blame the Chinese people. We blamed the Chinese government and the Communist Party. We blamed their party. We blamed the people responsible, not based on their race, not based on their creed, based on what happened. Facts.
Mm-hmm.
The government of China released this virus onto the world, and we are paying the price, and some gullible idiots are sitting here in fear, telling us why we need to stay inside and accept it.
Yep.
China. Yeah, it was China. I don't care what anybody says. It was China. And if it wasn't China, then it could very well have been the CIA just doing another friggin' psyop. Who knows?
Another thing today that popped up in our after all this and the postings and stuff that I find interesting, John, is it got mentioned, that basically you guys just need to, get used to the new normal, and this is how it's going to be until we make this vaccine. And I posted, and I'm making a prediction here. Here is the next power play that the left is going to do, people, and you have to be ready for this. Once we do have, right or wrong or good or bad, a viable vaccine, they are going to push mandatory vaccination for all American citizens.
Right.
And
bye-bye.
I, for one, I don't want something put in my arm that's being pushed by Bill Gates.
Right.
Bill Gates, who himself said that we need to come up with a way to decrease the population of the earth.
Right, which is another thing the leftists always push, right? You'll notice that. They really want depopulation, right?
Right.
Yet they get mad at us for not wearing a mask.
Yeah.
Of like, wait a minute. Because you care about people and you want people to stay alive because you support depopulation. Again, the contradiction.
Because it's political. It has nothing to do with the truth.
Nothing. Not even an ounce, scrap, or shred, my guy. Oh, well, I say, I was kind of hoping for a bit more views. We
had 7. We had quite a few people join in and out, actually. This has been one of our most viewed podcasts. For the people that are sticking around, this is ITTD Media. We roll podcasts every Friday. We start at 9 p.m. and usually we'll run to about 10, 11-ish, depending on how everything's going. More often than not, just 2 incessant ramblings of 3 happy individuals. And we try to bring local news into this as much as possible because that's our focus.
Right. There was a ton of amazing people with amazing science, creativity to promote their right to work, their right to pursue the happiness that was promised to them by forefathers. I was impressed with the turnout today. I saw what I've been wanting to see in this state for over 20 years.
And I agree. And going back to what IT was saying, guys, all your listeners out there, we talk about politics and everything, but also we talk about preparation because that is today the day. And we talk about a lot of preparation stuff. I myself am, and I hate that phrase, but I'm a prepper. Being a prepper is just being prepared. Like, for example, when all this COVID stuff hit, I didn't have to run out and be all crazy to find toilet paper because I already had toilet paper. And so we here at ITTD encourage you, stay prepared, stay vigilant. We talk about a lot of stuff usually in like the last part of the show on different either survival stuff or different scenarios. And John, you had a quick question about like say they take our phones away from us and stuff. Say they take our technology away. How could we? Is there a way that we could form protests?
Right.
And well, there's several ways. One way is, and this would be entirely up to groups of people already having it through either CB or ham radio. We can still talk to each other that way. And then also, you got to think back. How did our forefathers do that? How did our founding fathers do that? Well, that's the reason why towns back in the day had a town square. Because at the town square is where you would go and you would converse and spread things. That's also the reason why towns had taverns, bars for us Americans.
Yeah.
Because they would go there, and those are places where ideas were brought out. And so you would go in these places if you was wanting to start a protest or a gathering, and you would leave pamphlets and just all in a conspicuous place for people to see. And then it's like, oh, okay, be here at this time. Got it. And that's still things that if we had to, I hope it never comes to that, but if we had to, we still can do. But those of you out there that are listening, if you don't have like some type of amateur radio, if you don't know how to use it, get one and get that training. Baofeng UV5Rs are still being sold on Amazon right now for about $25, and they are 5-watt handheld radios that have a lot of versatility. There's all kinds of how-to stuff on there on YouTube, so don't worry about that. Chirp is a great program to program it with, and so we will not be silenced.
Absolutely. There's plenty of ways to go about it. And might I add, the whole social distancing thing, in every Orwellian dystopian novel, and even experiences and simulations and video games and movies and everything else like that I've seen, there's always the scene where two people are conversating and the officer shows up and says, disperse. Right. That is the breach of the First Amendment, which is also a right to assemble.
Right.
That because the British did the same thing to the forefathers. What are you guys doing? Separate. Don't talk to each other. Get out of here. You go that way. You go that way. Go away.
Right, because they didn't want them conniving. They didn't want them planning. And that's when, if things get that bad, you'll have to start talking in code, even if you're talking on the radio. My favorite scene on Red Dawn: the chair is by the door. The chair is by the door.
Well, you know, I always used to say the peanut butter is turned to jelly, or pizzo macchiato. You know, it's easy to make codes with your friends and stuff. So, speaking of codes, I just dropped a Coca-Cola bottle. But anyways, it has been a pleasure, guys. You know, that's the thing too, guys. Give us your feedback, even if you're watching after the fact, after recording.
Comments,
please. Comments. You know, give us some comments. Give us a like on our Facebook. Just do what you can. Get us around. We will give you credit if you want it. You know, we will comment on your stuff. We'll say, hey, thank you for sharing. You know, cheers to you. And if you want, we can shout you out on the next podcast. If you got your own organizations that you want to promote, we're willing to do it. And also, we are going to be getting into a donation system. I'm not really sure. There's a lot of them to choose from, like GoFundMe, Patreon.
There's a lot of options.
OnlyFans.
Well, not even not joking. OnlyFans, like.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what it's meant for.
Oh.
Yeah.
In our premium snaps.
Premium. No. No. But honestly, guys, if we'll be active, if you'll be active, you know what I mean? Like that's all we ask. Yeah. Give us feedback. You know, didn't like my voice? I'll shut up. You know what I mean? Just we're just trying to stretch our legs right now and see what you guys like. So
we are trying to extend ourselves, not because like we want to be famous. It's because we actually enjoy doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's our passion. I was talking about John about that earlier today, and it truly is. We feel like it's our calling, and that's why we are looking though, like in some kind of donation thing in the future, because we want to give more content to you guys. But in order to give more quality content, better content, like the camera that I used yesterday it's really kind of crap.
Yeah.
And
even webcams.
Eventually.
Webcams,
exactly.
Editing software, possibly. There's a lot of stuff you could do with Premiere.
Exactly. But all that stuff, like what we're saying, costs money.
Exactly.
So what we want to do is give you better stuff. But if you want that, we would love a donation once we get that set up. But in no way are we requiring
no,
it.
Not at all. Like we said before, we're gonna be as active as you guys are willing to let us. So
because we are working men right now, the best of our ability. We're working just like you and everything. It's just this side project. We want it to be able to get rolling, and the idea of donations isn't like if you don't give to us, you're not a true fan. We don't believe that.
No.
If you join our show, if you just watch our show, even if it's just one episode, we appreciate you.
If you're watching our show, we appreciate you. If you make one comment, you have made our day.
Yeah, exactly. We love the interaction that we receive. The live chat has been exploding these last 2 times. I love that. I loved having that interaction between people.
After months.
After months. Like there was an episode we did like before even COVID. It was when COVID was going on in China.
That was when it was first starting. That was when we started to get our our user interaction.
Yeah, that's when we actually started to be noticed by someone, an organic growth. So thank you everyone for listening.
You should have seen the faces on these 2 young men Though everybody out there, they were like kids in candy stores. I was so proud.
Right.
Yeah, we were just as excited, old man. Get out of here.
Dude, we were like, oh my God, look at him. Like, I can still remember his name. It was something. All I know is he had a Glock for an avatar.
Yeah.
It was
what a
badass.
lad.
What a lad. Got good tastes.
Anyways, folks, 10:49.
Yeah. Well, might as well get to wrapping it up. I think we've covered a lot of it. We'll definitely be talking more about the protest, and we'll be talking about, I believe there's going to be a protest next week. So we're going to be talking about that. It's going to be more organized. People have had time to get ready for it. And I'm expecting, this is my prediction, just like War Spirit was predicting as well, that there's going to be goons from the state there. And they're not going to be happy. So it's going to be interesting next week, everybody. So it's been an absolute pleasure, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. I am renewed. I feel fresh, awake, and alive tonight. I am ecstatic about the future in what San Juan County alone can not just show America, but the world. The world is watching America right now. And what we do in the following days will prove our acclaim as Americans. We must show that no matter what anyone says, whether successful or otherwise, we will be right. You know what I mean? So, thank you everyone for joining. This is Jonathan of Evigilans. I am accompanied by WARSPIRIT and IT. We are God-fearing Americans. We want the best for this country. We want the best for your children. Even if you don't agree with us, we want you and your children to have a safe night. We want you to be happy. We want what's best for you. We genuinely believe that this is the best way to go. We should open up, or else we will starve. Maybe not to death, but there will be nights where we lose dinner. I don't want that for me. I don't want that for my family. I don't want that for anybody else's family. Democrat or otherwise, I don't want to see a hungry kid. Not in my town. Not in my county. You know what I mean? So thank you, Lord, for bringing us here together tonight. Thank you for your wisdom and your patience with us, Lord. Give us the strength and give the people of this town the strength to power through. Show your word and your compassion, Lord. These people have hope. I want you to reaffirm this hope in their hearts. I want you to remind people to rise on eagle's wings, Lord. I beg for your rain to fall on this town, Lord. I know that this town hasn't been the best. I know that these people, everything else, just like me, have been far, far from perfect, Lord. But this town, just like the rest of the United States and the rest of the world right now, needs a kind, loving Father to lift them from the dirt they're in. None of us deserve it, but all of us need it. Thank you, Lord, for providing that grace every day. I pray for our enemies. I pray for our friends. I pray for our families, Lord, in these hard, troubling times as we emerge ever closer to glorious retribution day. Thank you, Lord. Amen.